Good afternoon, and welcome to the Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union 2016 Lunch and Learn series. Today's presentation is brought to you in partnership with Coffee, a nationwide financial coaching and education center focusing on improving the financial health of individuals. As the premier credit union of Prince George's County, they have joined with Coffee to expand their mission of providing quality financial education to their community and lending insight into credit management, home ownership, and money management. Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union is a full-service financial institution serving anyone who lives, works, or worships in Prince George's County, Maryland. They are one of the county's best-kept secrets with competitive loan and savings rates as well as discounts to national retailers. They currently serve over 15,000 members in the area and welcome you to come and experience the benefits of membership as well. Later on in the presentation, I will display their contact information and answer any specific questions you may have concerning your financial needs. Please note that today's webinar is live and all phone lines have been muted. If you have questions, please feel free to type it into the question field on the right-hand side of your menu bar. All questions are private and will be addressed at the end of our discussion. We will be offering a free 60-minute financial coaching session with the completion of 3 webinars. More information will be given at the end of today's presentation. And lastly, a recording of today's session will be available within 2 days. Details will be sent to you in your email following the presentation. And with all of that being said, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Charmaine Williams with Coffee, and I will be doing today's presentation. So let's get started. We're talking about identity theft today. And right now there's going to be a few identity theft facts on your screen to see. Identity fraud incidence increases all the time. There were 13.1 million victims in 2013. 11.1 million adults were victims in 2009, an increase to from 11.6 in the United States in 2011. 66% of victims' personal information is used to open a new credit card account in their name. Consumer fraud costs estimated $7.3 billion in 2008 and 2007. And in 2013, the global cost of credit card fraud alone was $14 billion, up 19% from the last year. The USA's credit card fraud was more than the rest of the world's combined. $7.1 billion in the United States and $6.8 billion in the rest of the world. Then the last statistics is about friendly fraud. Studies found that 32% of identity theft victims discovered that a family member or a relative was responsible for stealing their identity. And in that same study, they found that 18% were victimized by a friend, neighbor, or in-home employee. So how does identity theft happen? Well, one way is over the internet. Online phishing has become very popular. ID theft occurs when you receive emails from people posing as legitimate companies asking for your contact or credit card information. Some will directly ask you to send them a check, but we'll talk more about phishing a little bit later. Then it's via records. ID thieves can hack your records through a computer or pay off company employees to gain access to your records as well, or even steal the records directly from a company. And then there's also what is known as dumpster diving, which is sifting through trash, and that's another way they can gain access to your records or mail. And then with the mail, they can easily steal your mail, including bank and credit card statements, credit card offers, checks, tax information, and more. They will even steal the mail you leave for the postman if your mailbox isn't secure. They may fill out a change of address form in your name and send it back so that they receive your mail instead of you. The way they do it through ATMs is they use a technique called skimming. They get your information by attaching a data storage device to an ATM machine and get your information when you swipe your card. So you need to be careful about skimming. And then through direct theft. That's when they may steal your wallet or purse or financial information from your house. They will then use your credit cards, ATM cards, checks, and any other personal information they may find for their own financial gain. So as you can see by this chart on your screen, credit card fraud makes up the largest amount of identity theft. 19% is phone and utilities, 18% is bank fraud, 13% is employment, 8% government, 6% is loan fraud, 22% is other, which where you would see friendly fraud, etc. in that section, and then 6% is attempted. So there are new scams all the time, every day. Some of these scams include email, again with phishing, credit card, and unemployment scams. So starting with email, some emails will say that you've won money or you've been left money from a foreign beneficiary. They ask you to wire them money to set up the transfer and that they will deposit it into your account. ID thieves send emails posing as a representative from a foreign government asking you to help move money from one account to another. It's reported that this scam nets these criminals $100 million a year. These offers account for about 12% of the scam offers people have said they received, according to the National Consumers League poll. There are many versions of this scam, so it's important to weed out spam and not respond to any email if you don't know or cannot verify the sender. We're going to get back into phishing. Phishing is a type of email and website scam. The ID thief simply creates a domain name using the legitimate company name, but adds the term accounts or secure in its domain. The ID thieves distribute millions of emails asking consumers to verify account information and a social security number. Some of the verification scams come from eBay, Best Buy, Discover, eGold, eBay verification, etc. The next is IRS scams as well. That's included in the phishing. Please remember that the IRS will only contact you via mail. They're not going to call you, and they're definitely not going to send you an email. Okay, so if anyone calls you saying that they're with the IRS, hang up immediately. Then we get into credit card scams. A credit card employee calls you to confirm unusual spending activity. Then the so-called employee asks for the code on the back of your credit card. Part of the scam involves explaining how consumers are being scammed. Okay, so if you get such a call, be sure to call the credit card company back to see if they did in fact make the original call. And then the last one is unemployment scams. This is a newer, more emerging form of ID theft. Typically, it targets people who are actually still employed. This is where the identity thief files for unemployment benefits in your name and starts collecting checks from your employer. They don't always get caught right away, but this is why it's important to pay attention to the information on your credit reports and keep note of everything that's happening in your life. Next, we're going to get into Social Security identity theft. This is where thieves use your Social Security number to gain employment or to report income under your name. So your Social Security number can be stolen in tons of ways, either by direct theft, stealing your wallet or your purse or breaking into your house, through phishing emails, or stealing into unsecured websites. So if you're applying for a card somewhere, maybe it's not secure and you put in your social, that's how they get it. Rummaging through your trash or through phone scams. So we touched a bit on this before, the unemployment fraud. As you can see, it's a growing trend. Unemployment fraud is becoming a huge trend, especially in Florida. Thieves are filing for unemployment benefits and being awarded government money. Over $3 billion was paid out to unemployment fraud in 2013. A very large majority of victims are actually still employed, and this is not a crime that is typically targeted at people who are actually receiving unemployment. As you can see, it's targeted towards people who are still employed. This is not something that should be taken lightly. Just because this isn't affecting your money directly, keep in mind these people still have your social security number, address, and personal information. It happened to a coworker of mine once, and the unemployment office told them that the thief even knew where they worked. So while this may not be affecting you today, you have no idea what other nefarious deeds can now be committed with this breach of security. You're going to want to call the unemployment office in your state as soon as you find out this is happening. This can put a quick end to the problem. Even if your HR department comes to you and tells you they have contacted unemployment, it's important that they receive a verbal statement from you, the victim, to help with their investigations. And then just like with any form of ID theft, immediately start reviewing your information. You may want to place a fraud alert on with the credit bureaus, review your bank accounts, contact any bank or financial institutions that you're affiliated with to warn them of potential scams. Next, we have medical ID theft. Medical theft is another form of identity theft wherein the thief uses your identity or insurance information to get medical treatment, prescription drugs, or even surgeries. It can also happen in the workplace if an employee creates fake records to submit false bills to an insurance company. Medical fraud has gone up by over 20% due to so many medical records becoming digital. So a few of the warning signs are getting a bill for services you did not receive, or contact from a debt collector about medical bills, negative impacts on your credit, reaching your benefit limit on your health plan unexpectedly, or you could even be denied insurance because you're documented as having a condition that you don't actually have. So some ways to prevent medical fraud is get copies of your medical records. If you know a thief used your medical information and gets a copy of your records, the federal law gives you the right to know what's in your medical files. So you're going to want to check them for errors. Contact each doctor, clinic, hospital, pharmacy, laboratory, health plan, and location where a thief may have used your information. For example, if a thief got a prescription in your name, ask for records from the healthcare provider who wrote the prescription and the pharmacy that filled it. The next is ATM or debit card theft. So if this happens to you, you're going to want to act fast. You're protected if your debit card is used by a thief. However, you have to act quickly. Compared to credit cards, stolen debit cards carry a lot of risk. Your loss is limited to $50 depending on your banking institution. If you notify the financial institution within 2 business days after learning of loss or theft of your card or code. If you do not report an unauthorized transfer that appears on your statement within 60 days after the statement is mailed to you, you risk unlimited loss on transfers made after that 60-day period. That means you could lose all of the money in your account plus your maximum overdraft line of credit, if any. If you lose your debit card, call and cancel it immediately. Remember, if your debit card is stolen, the thief now has access to your checking account and potentially if your savings account if within the same bank. That gives him or her permission to drain everything you have if you don't act quickly. To get a better idea of the liability to you, keep in mind that if you report the card stolen within 2 business days of the first fraudulent charge, you are only responsible for up to $50 in charges. If it is out 2-day window, you are now responsible for up to $500 in damages. If your ID is stolen Monday and $200 is spent, you discover it and report it on Tuesday, remember, you'll only be responsible for $50 of that damage. But if you don't report it until Friday and an additional $200 is spent, you could be responsible for all $400 worth of charges. So ATM or debit card loss or fraudulent transfers. If you report an ATM or debit card missing before someone uses it, the EFTA says you are not responsible for any unauthorized transactions, even within minutes of asking you to verify the transaction. You can quickly respond and alert with your bank and let them know that your card was stolen. The next is driver's license theft. First question, can your driver's license be used fraudulently? Of course it can. In many cases, it depends on how much your thief resembles you, if they have any expertise in fake ID production, and how willing they are to falsely represent themselves to law enforcement. If the thief looks like you, it could be used easily. If they are skilled at replication, they could edit the picture to one of themselves. So the most common thing that occurs in a scenario like this is a criminal racking up traffic violations in your name. Your driver's license is appealing to certain criminals for a variety of reasons. If they get stopped for a moving violation, they don't want it on their own record. So in many cases, your identity thief will be a career criminal, which means they have a record that prevents them from getting a driver's license of their own. If a thief manages to successfully represent themselves as you to a member of law enforcement, it can potentially result in criminal identity theft, which is one of the most traumatic types of identity fraud. In scenarios like this, the thief has now pretended to be you at either a traffic stop or during a criminal arrest. You now have a court date to appear for a crime that you didn't commit. When you don't show up to the court date that you're completely unaware of, a warrant is issued for your arrest. So first, what are the repercussions? What could happen? You're doing something that requires a background check. You're applying for a new job or moving into a new apartment. The landlord or employer informs you that they cannot hire or rent you because you're wanted for a crime that you had no knowledge of. Second, you're pulled over for driving 60 in a 55. And after handing the officer your information, he asks you to step out of the car and places you under arrest. You have no idea why. It's only later that you're informed you've been arrested on a warrant that you never even knew existed. So if you find yourself in this scenario, there are a number of steps you should take in order to mitigate your risk for identity fraud. Hopefully, you figure out that your license has been stolen soon enough to prevent these terrible situations. The first people to call is your local law enforcement. By filing a report, you create a paper trail. That way, if crimes are committed in your name later, they know you called it in to discuss that it may happen. And then next, go to the DMV immediately to get a new license. So what is a fraud alert? Or why place a fraud alert? The 3 national credit reporting companies keep records of your credit history. If someone has misused your personal or financial information, call one of the companies and ask for an initial fraud alert on your credit report. A fraud alert is free. You must provide proof of your identity, and the company you call must tell the other 2 companies about your alert. Okay, so step by step, again, how to place a fraud alert. Contact one of the credit reporting agencies. That's either TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax. Report that you are a victim. Ask them to place a fraud alert on your file, and then confirm that they will contact the other 2 agencies. Update your information, record the dates you made the calls and sent the letters, and then update your information again every 90 days. An initial fraud alert can make it harder for an identity thief to open more accounts in your name. When you have an alert on your report, a business must verify your identity before it issues credit, so it may try to contact you. And be sure the credit reporting companies have your current contact information so that they can get in touch with you. An initial alert stays on your credit report for at least 90 days and can be renewed when appropriate. You may ask that an initial fraud alert be placed on your credit report if you suspect you have been or are about to be a victim of identity theft. An initial alert is appropriate if your wallet has been stolen or if you've been taken in by a phishing scam. When you place an initial fraud alert on your credit report, you're entitled to one free credit report from each of the 3 nationwide consumer reporting agencies. So now we're going to talk about a credit freeze. A credit freeze allows you to restrict access to all your credit report. Potential creditors and other people or businesses can't get access to it unless you lift the freeze temporarily or permanently. Now, some states charge a fee for placing or removing a freeze. You're going to want to contact the state attorney general to find out what the fees are, if any, in your state. And then when you place a freeze, contact each of the consumer reporting agencies, because a freeze is not like a fraud alert, and they're not going to contact each other to let them know that a freeze has been placed. So you need to contact each one of the credit reporting agencies to a credit freeze. So just to mention, Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union offers a free service called SMS Guardian Alerts with every debit and credit card. SMS Guardian anti-fraud text alert notification service, which sends transaction alerts directly to your mobile phone or any other SMS-enabled device. When a purchase that meets the monitoring criteria takes place, a text will be sent to you for review. If you think a particular transaction is fraudulent, reply immediately. A fraud analyst will block the card and follow up with you by phone. So that's just an added layer of security that enables fraudulent activity to be identified and stopped immediately, which significantly reduces the likelihood that subsequent unauthorized transactions will occur. So just so that you guys know, that's an option for you when you get a credit card or a debit card. So here are some simple steps to preventing identity theft. First one, once it's out there, and it may not be possible to retrieve or erase it. So you're going to want to keep your personal information private. Don't post your address, social security number, or other very personal information on social networking sites. Use the privacy settings on social networks to limit who you want to be able to see the information that you post. And be wary of strangers who want to be your friends, since they may be fraudsters instead. And only provide your personal information when it is absolutely needed for something, and only if you're sure of why someone wants it. The second is use strong passwords to lock your accounts. Yes, using passwords can be annoying, but any barriers you put in front of ID thieves makes you a less attractive target. Can't remember your passwords? Well, it's okay to write them down as long as you store them somewhere safe. You're going to want to create passwords that aren't easy to guess. So not your birthday or your pet's name. And not words that are easily found in the dictionary, since crooks can run programs to run through the dictionary in minutes. Remember, do not click on advertisements or read emails from strangers. They may contain malware. If you receive something like that out of the blue and it looks like it's from someone you know, contact the person to check whether it's legitimate or not. If you don't recognize the sender, then just delete it. Always be safe when downloading. Downloading free games or toolbars that you're not familiar with can install spyware or keyloggers onto your computer. These programs can track what you do and what you type, including passwords, social security numbers, etc. Watch out for phishing. If a company unexpectedly asks you for personal information unprovoked by phone or by email, odds are it's a phishing attempt. Scammers have gotten very good at disguising their emails to look like they are major corporations. If it seems suspicious, then it probably is. If you're a customer of the company, then it's best to contact them immediately to find out if they're really trying to reach you. And then always use firewalls and malware protection. Many computers and smartphones come with them built in, but you can also find free software or software for sale on the internet. Look for reviews from tech magazines and other independent sources. And lastly, public Wi-Fi may not be secure. It's convenient, but it's not always secure. Crooks can use various high-tech means to eavesdrop on your email or communications on social networks and read what you are typing. If you are banking or shopping with your device, your account numbers can be exposed. So always be wary of using public Wi-Fi. So what are some of the warning signs that your identity may have been stolen? Well, one, when checking your paper or online statement, you may see unexplained or inaccurate entries, a withdrawal, a check, an electronic transaction, or a purchase that you don't recognize. The next and most common are items on your credit report that you don't recognize, credit inquiries, new accounts, something that you didn't open. Then you may receive a phone call, a letter, or email from your bank or brokerage notifying you about an irregularity on your account. If it comes in the form of an email, please make sure that it's not a phishing email. The next, debt collectors are calling you. A debt collector contacts you about accounts you know nothing about or problems with existing accounts that you're unaware of. You have issues with your medical insurance. You go in for a medical procedure and are informed that it won't be covered by your insurance because it's already happened. Or, more commonly, you receive bills for medical treatments that you've never had, in which case someone used your identity and insurance to receive that medical treatment. The next one is you'll have issues with your mail. If you don't receive your bank statement, then there could be a problem. The perpetrator may have changed your address with the financial institution. If other pieces of mail are missing, it may mean that the perpetrator is collecting information about you to develop a profile. So similar, if you don't receive your email statement, someone may have gotten a hold of your online account and altered things and altered the settings to lock you out. You may get a notice from the post office that your mail is being forwarded to another address when you haven't requested a change of address. These are all things that you need to look at to be warning signs that you may be a victim of identity theft. And the last one is you may have good credit but are denied for an application for, say, a new credit card or a loan. That may also be an indication that your identity has been stolen. So if it happens to you, file a police report. Contact your local law enforcement agency and file a police report. Then you want to place a fraud alert with 3 major credit bureaus. Order and review your credit report. Contact your creditors to let them know that you've been compromised. File a complaint with the FTC. Notify your local postal inspector. Contact the Social Security Administration. Contact the United States Passport Office. Cancel your checking account if necessary, and inform the DMV. When you're contacting the Social Security Administration, the fraud hotline provides an avenue for individuals to report fraud, waste, and abuse within the Social Security Administration's programs and operations. So they can be reached by internet, mail, fax, or phone. You're going to have a copy of this presentation and notes. So everything is going to be in there. You don't have to rush to write all of this down. It's going to be sent to you after the webinar is complete. You'll get an email with all of the notes from today. So you don't have to rush to write it down. All of this information is going to be in there for you. So with all of that being said, I'm going to open it up for any questions you have. And I'm also going to bring on the line Charmaine Buckner from Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union to answer any questions that you may have as well. Are there any questions? Charmaine, are you there? We don't have any questions at all. Oh, well, I hope that we've all found this presentation to be... Oh, there's a question. Yes, thank you. Oh, it's not a question, it's a thank you. You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. So, since there are no questions, I would like to thank you for attending today's educational webinar. To learn more about Prince George's Community Federal Credit Union or to speak to a member service representative, please visit www.princegeorgescfcu.org or call 301-627-2666. Wait, hold on one second. I'm sorry. Oh, they would like more information on SMS Guard. Charmaine, are you still here with us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. For SMS Guardian, it's definitely a great service that we provide our members for debit and credit card transactions. If you're interested in signing up for that service, you could simply do so through online banking. You just have to simply sign into online banking and then click at the top. It says alerts, and there's SMS Guardian text alerts, and from there you can just follow the prompts and sign up for the service. It's totally free, and it's a wonderful service to have to catch any fraudulent activities as soon as they're taking place.
Okay, I have another question here. It says, I've been a victim of ID theft twice. You guys refunded the money. What if it happens again?
Well, the first thing we say is that if you've been a victim of identity theft, 9 times out of 10, there's probably some information out there still that hasn't been cleared, and there's thieves or people using that information. So I think some of the information that Charmaine covered in today's seminar concerning contacting the credit bureaus and contacting some of the major entities here is very important in trying to help to prevent this from taking place in the future again. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, and I have another question here. It says, how long is a credit report valid? I'll answer that question. You can you have access or the right to pull your credit report from all 3 bureaus once a year, and depending on what you're doing is how long your credit report will be valid. So like if you were shopping around for a car and you pull it today and then they check it and you're like, oh, I decide I don't want this car now. And then in 30 days from now, you go and you're like, well, I already have a copy of my credit report. No, they're going to pull it again. So they're going to want to see it like every 30 days because from day to day, your credit report can change. Things can be added, things can be taken off, so you don't know. So depending on what you're doing is how long your credit report is going to be accurate. I hope that answers your question. And I think that is it for the question. Are there any other questions that we need to address? Nope. That looks like it's it. Well, you're very welcome for the presentation. Again, you will be receiving the notes in an email. There will also be a recording of the presentation as well. So with all of that being said, I hope everyone has a wonderful day and enjoys the rest of their day. Thank you again for attending. Bye-bye.